Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to Enjoy English School. I'm Bruce.
I'm Antony.
Today we have a very interesting article as well as tomorrow. This is our two-day article. It's called What is Let's Eat in Sign Language?
没错，今天我们要介绍的主题呢非常特别是一家非常特别的餐厅。你可不可以想象，如果你到一家餐厅之后呢，你必须要用手语来点菜呢？我们今天就是要介绍这么有趣的一家餐厅。这个地点呢是在巴基斯坦。我们来赶快看看今天的这个内容吧。
Okay, as we mentioned, we're in Pakistan today and tomorrow. And two deaf brothers, that is, people who cannot hear at all or only a very little, we refer to as deaf, D-E-A-F. This doesn't stop them from having to make a living. And apparently they're good at preparing food and they enjoy doing it. So they opened a small cafe in the capital of the country of Pakistan.
没错，今天我们介绍的主角呢，本身跟大部分的人不太一样他们本身的话其实听不到，或者是可能是重听。老师刚刚提到这个字 deaf，D-E-A-F，deaf 就是失聪的人。那如果说这个是the deaf 就是失聪的人，这个族群 the 加上一个形容词来表达有这样特质的人们。那我们今天要介绍的这个主角呢，他们本身就是自己失聪或重听，他们家族里头有很多重听的人，于是他们开了一家这个餐厅。好，之后呢，它里面也雇佣失聪的人呢，而且呢，进去之后都要用手语来点。我们来看看今天的内容吧。
Abe Cow, Hey, Eat began as a food stand in 2016. So we already mentioned the two deaf brothers 4 years ago opened a food stand.Be careful. A restaurant is big with doors and you walk in, tables and chairs inside, and a little more expensive with maybe many people working there to serve you food. And in the kitchen, several people may be preparing food. But a stand is like our night market. There may be just one person who does everything.Or two, maybe not more than three, who take care of a very small area. There may be tables or there just may be a long chair, which we call a bench. And you just have a bowl of something and you eat by yourself. That kind of restaurant is called a stand.
没错，老师刚刚很清楚的说明了，一般的餐厅的话是有一个地方你可以走进去，他们有厨房有很多人在里面工作，帮你送餐、点菜等等。那如果这边提到这个 food stand 就是指这种一般路边马路上的，他可能是一个老板就要做所有的事情，然后你就坐在这个板凳上面去吃。这个相信在台湾的话大家都不陌生。如果提到小吃摊呢，你还有机会听到另外一个字叫做 food stall。S-T-A-L-L， 那 food stand 跟 food stall 最大的差别是在，如果是 food stall 的话，它很像是一个市场，每个都有隔间，它后面可能有墙面，然后隔壁就是隔壁的摊位，所以如果是有隔间的，我们会叫 food stall，S-T-A-L-L。那如果说是单纯一个在马路旁边在那边坐的话，这种小吃摊我们叫做 food stand。所以这句话还提到说 ，Hey, eat Abe Cow 这家餐厅呢 began as a food stand in 2016， 在2016年的时候，他们刚开始只是一家小吃摊而已。
Because all the workers were deaf or hard of hearing, customers use sign language to order. Now, we've already mentioned this, but now we have a difference between deaf, which usually means they cannot hear. They were born unable to hear anything, or they had an accident and they lost their sense of hearing. Hard of hearing, what? What did you say?
就是重听的意思，听不太清楚，可是还听得到哈，就是这样的感觉。老师，谢谢你的演示 ，Thanks for the demonstration。我刚刚吓了一跳，说，怎么突然换我讲话？太可爱了。
Now, if you cannot hear, you have to learn sign language in order to communicate either with other deaf or hard of hearing people, or hearing people, people who can hear.
没错，所以在这里的话，你会知道说，哦，原来如果说失去听力的话，还有分程度的。如果像我们一般的话，他们会称呼我们为听人，好，就是可以听得到 hearing people。那还有分成，如果说今天稍微听不太到，然后甚至到是已经几乎听不到，像老师刚刚那样啊，你说什么那种感觉，要很努力的跟他讲的，就是 hard of hearing，就是重听。那最后的话，最严重的就是完全听不见的，就是 deaf。
One might think this would spell trouble for the business, but owner Sheikh Faizan Raza found the opposite was true. Well, now we know the name of the boss, who's one of these two deaf brothers. And you would think, well, how can deaf people have or operate a business? You would expect this, that there would be trouble for communicating the guests or customers and the boss. But people who like their food learn. I mean, you and I could do that too. If there is a menu, you just point to something that looks good, or wave to get their attention. We use sign language naturally, a little bit of sign language. Every language does this in order to communicate bye-bye and come here and so on. So sign language is not strange, really, to hearing people either.
没错，所以我们平常平常在讲话的时候，可能也会搭配一些手势嘛。所以在这里他提到这个 ，one might think this， 好，就是说他们听不到这件事情 ，would spell trouble for the business， 可能对这个生意会造成一些影响，造成一些损害。But owner Sheikh Faizan Raza 就是这个主角 ，OK， 其中一个 brother found the opposite was true. The opposite 就是相反的状况 was true. 事实上，啊，这不但不仅不会造成他们这个餐厅呢可能生意受损，甚至还会变成是一个招牌，是一项特色。然后很多人都愿意来点餐的时候，也愿意使用手语去告诉他们我要点什么餐。
Right. Young customers enjoyed having the chance to learn to sign. Now, sign here, sign your name, that's one use of sign, but sign also can be used to use sign language to communicate. And young people are usually more open to this and curious and want to try, maybe they're good at it and they won't know until they try. So young people are more open to new experiences.
没错，所以在这边的话，他就说了 ，Young customers enjoyed having the chance to learn to sign。这边老师特别点出来了 ，sign 可以指的是签名，但这个地方它不是指签下你的名字的意思。sign 的话是 to use sign language， 学着使用手语。好，年轻人非常非常享受，好有机会去学看手语。然后很多时候像大学啊，或是高中社团都有很多手语社嘛。那所以到后来的话，大家学会一个手语，感觉上也很挺新奇的。年轻人呢都很愿意做这样的事情。
Unfortunately, the stand was quickly shut down by the government. What? Why? That kind of feeling we have is, well, this is not right. It's really too bad. Unfortunately, something happened.
没错 ，unfortunately 就是要给你打预防针，说，哎，后面有一项不好的事情要发生了，很不幸的，很不巧的，运气很差，后面发生什么事呢？他就告诉你了 ，the stand 这个小吃摊呢 was quickly shut down by the government， 好，很快的就被政府给直接关闭了。也许呢，他们可能要求有什么证照啦，或是任何理由要你搬走，所以可能我们不晓得什么原因，但是很不幸的，2016年开的这家小吃摊，很快可能没过多久就被政府给关闭了。
Okay, let's take a little break now before we continue. Okay, welcome back. Let's continue this interesting story about two deaf brothers who opened their own restaurant only to have it closed down by their government.
Okay.
Raza did not give up, though. Remember, we introduced Mr. Raza as one of the two brothers who started their business, and he would not give up. He would not quit. He would not stop.
OK， 所以第二段的第一句话就说 Raza 就是其中一个老板，好，他的话本身也是听不到的。OK，Raza did not give up though。我们前面一段不是提到说啊，后来这个小吃摊就被政府给关闭了，不能够再让他们去卖了，对不对？就后来没想到他们没有放弃，好，依然没有放弃，继续去想办法。
After the food stand was shut down, Raza, along with his brother and sister, planned for 6 months. That's what we mean by he would not give up. Now, we don't know exactly what they're going to do, but they took half a year to plan to reopen their stand.
接下来他怎么做呢 ？After the food stand was shut down， 一旦被关闭了之后呢 ，Raza along with his brother and sister， 好，跟他的这个兄弟还有一个姐妹呢，好，他们花了六个月的时间，也是半年的时间来筹划，打算要重新开张他们的这个餐厅。
So part of their plan was they rented a small space and reopened. Well, that's what usually happens, especially in a night market. Those stands and stalls in the night market, the people who prepare food there, that's not their land. They don't buy it, they rent it, just as many people will rent an apartment.
没错，所以像在台湾的话，很多夜市，他们本身也是地不是属于这些摊商的嘛，他是租了他们这个摊位，然后呢每天来摆摊，那种感觉也是差不多的。所以他在这个地方还有提到说，他呢这个 Raza 跟他的这个兄弟姐妹呢，一共3个人，他们就想尽办法怎么样 ？They rented a small space and reopened， 他们就租了一个地方，然后重新开张了他们的餐厅。
With a bit of help from a BBC program, their business quickly became popular. They got pretty lucky. BBC was in Pakistan looking around for something to report, and they noticed that a small food stand had opened, operated and owned by some 2 deaf brothers and their sister. So they probably did a little show on it. It was broadcast to the world, so it's not surprising that their business quickly became popular.
OK， 所以在这个地方的话，他就告诉你说，为什么到后来，开始非常非常有名，原来是这样子的。With a bit of help from a BBC program，BBC 就是英国广播公司。然后英国广播公司呢，它本身可能在巴基斯坦在找题材，一看到原来有一个这个小吃摊，他们有雇佣这个失聪的人士来做这个小吃摊等等，然后就发现到这个故事很棒。那事实上，你在这个 YouTube 上面搞不好还可以找到相关的这个。然后有提到说，他们本身的爸爸他也是裁缝师，那他的话在这个裁缝的那个店里头也是雇佣失聪的人士，所以事实上他的这个兄弟俩是按照他爸爸的这种做事方式，都是雇佣失聪人士，慢慢让大家开始了解失聪人士，然后想办法跟这个失聪人士沟通的一个做法。所以有机会可以去看一看这里面的详细的东西。所以因为这些英国广播公司的这种报道跟帮助 ，their business quickly became popular， 就突然之间他们的生意就非常非常的好。
Raza hopes his business will provide jobs and encouragement for deaf people. So he's not only thinking of himself and his family, his business is growing, he needs more people, and he chooses deaf people first because there are many jobs that deaf people would not be able to do, and he also wants to encourage them, don't give up.
这真的好重要，对不对？不是光想到自己，而是希望能够让很多的失聪人士能够重新找到机会，然后重新站起来，不要放弃。所以这句话就说了，他说 Raza hopes his business will provide jobs and encouragement。好 ，encouragement 当然指的就是鼓励。好，什么样的鼓励呢 ？For deaf people， 尤其是对失聪人士的鼓励，希望说，这边有工作机会，这边有机会接触人群，让你慢慢打开你的这个其他的可能性。好，所以是非常非常好的一件事情。
In Pakistan, deaf people are treated as sons of a lesser god. This expression means that people are not treated normally. Maybe they are looked down on. They are avoided. Unfortunately, that's not only in Pakistan. Many people have trouble. They worry about trying to communicate with people who cannot hear.
老师刚刚用到一个词汇叫做 look down on. If you look down on somebody or look down upon somebody， 指的意思是轻视对方，看不起人家。所以很多人失聪的，因为失聪天生的这种失聪的关系呢，到后来因为在很多地方工作都会碰壁，然后慢慢的就会失去一些工作能力，然后没有经济能力就被人家看不起，很多时候就会是一个非常窘困的一个状况。所以在这边他就说了，in Pakistan， 好，在巴基斯坦呢。好 ，deaf people are treated as sons of a lesser god， 就是比较不被上帝眷顾的那种感觉。他们本身少了一些能力，所以说他在生存上面也会受到一些挑战跟阻碍。
Workers at Abe Kao often recommend it to friends with similar hearing difficulties. Well, that makes sense. If the boss and another, maybe the chef, the cook, are hard of hearing or deaf, well, there you feel similar, and maybe you will be able to communicate through sign language with each other very easily. And maybe they saw it on BBC and are curious and want to go and try it.
没错，所以很多时候都有可能嘛。有些时候是可能是他们自己知道了这家餐厅想来工作，或者是看到 BBC 说原来这边有在征人，而且是征厨师啦，然后听不到人也可以来优先录取，那有机会就会吸引到更多的失聪人士来慢慢找出他们的可能性所以在这边他讲说 ，Workers at Abe Kao often recommend it to friends with similar hearing difficulties。那如果说今天你身边，假设如果说我今天是失聪人士，我在这边工作，刚好我知道另外一个朋友他也是听不到的，他正在找工作，我就会推荐他说，你要不要来我们这边工作？我们老板人很好我们大家都是用手语沟通，很友善的环境。I recommend this restaurant to my friend. Recommend something to somebody。好，这 recommend 的用法很好用，就是推荐的意思。
Okay, let's finish up with the final paragraph for today. Recently, Raza has turned his business, the business, into a franchise. Oh, a good businessman. He is successful with his model of something new in business for the deaf or the hard of hearing. It's become popular and successful, so we'll open another one and another one.And that's called a franchise.
OK, franchise 这个字好重要就是连锁加盟店的意思。所以这边这句话呢，第三段的第一个地方，他就说 recently 最近呢 ，Raza has turned the business into a franchise。他想办法让自己的这个餐厅呢，开始开放人家加盟，这样就有更多的人、更多的机会进来了。franchise 这个字就是加盟店，就像你看到可能像麦当劳啦，好多地方都有麦当劳，那就是 franchise。老师露出那个表情，好像觉得麦当劳
Okay, Mr. Mobeen Kaza, a player on the national deaf cricket team, operates an Abe Kao food cart. All right, now instead of a food stall or food stand, now we have a food cart. You can see the word C-A-R, car, and so you can remember if you push something like a car and sell food out of it, you will stop when someone makes an order, prepare it, and then push it to some other place. That's called a cart. And we have a Mr. Kaza. Now, he plays on a cricket team. Don't ask me about cricket. That's a British game, sort of like baseball. And there's a national deaf cricket team, which I think is really cool for Pakistan. I mean, they closed down a restaurant because the owners were deaf, but they have a deaf cricket team. Go Pakistan.
哇，太酷了，对不对？好，在这个地方，他最后这边他讲说 ，Mr. Mobeen Kwaza or Kwazi, a player on the national deaf cricket team. Cricket 就是板球的意思。有机会你可能在印度的片子里面常常看到，中间插了3根，然后他的那个打法很奇妙，他投球的方式也很怪。但是呢，我不知道它的规则但是看起来就觉得很好玩。People are crazy about cricket 很多地方都非常非常喜欢这个板球。然后在这边他说，他甚至呢 ，a player on the national deaf cricket team，他还是在这个 板球的国家队里头，好担任其中一名选手。Operates an abe cow food cart。老师刚刚提到这个字 cart， 好，我们可能去那个超级市场的时候，都会推着这个 shopping cart， 就是那种购物车，有没有？好，东西看到了拿了就丢进来，那个叫做 cart。所以在这边的话，这个 shopping food cart 也是一样，它也类似像是一个车子，可能。因为我在猜应该是跟 food truck 有一点像，但是比较小的那种感觉吧。他也去做了一个这样子的一个像是加盟店，好，他去这样做，在没有打球的时候可能就做这件事情。
Okay, Mr. Kaza, he's also hired 2 deaf boys to help out. Here's an example of hiring people who also have problems hearing or hearing at all. It's an opportunity for them to work.OK，
所以最后呢，他说 he has also hired 这个地方的 his 一撇 s 是 he has also hired， 他也已经雇了。好，在这句话怎么知道会是 he has 呢？原因很简单，你看到后面的 hired 这个地方它是用这个过去分词的情况，所以在这里的话一定是用 he has 的这种感觉。他也雇佣了2个失聪的少年呢，来帮助他的这个生意。所以在这里的话，不只是这个生意本身，他也提供了许多失聪人士很多的工作机会。
Okay, for our review, it's very simple, but you have to go back to the top of the page where it says 2 deaf brothers opened a cafe for the deaf in Pakistan. Cafe is French. In English, we also use their word, but we also say coffee house.
Coffee house 就是咖啡馆，然后在这边的话 cafe 是法文，也是同样的意思。
Okay, that's it for today's program, but remember this is only part 1. Tomorrow will be part 2 about sign language in Pakistan for the deaf. Till tomorrow, bye-bye.
第20页，生活快递，入境随俗，吃什么用比的。
What is let's eat in sign language? Abe cow, hey, eat, began as a food stand in 2016. Because all the workers were deaf or hard of hearing, customers used sign language to order. One might think this would spell trouble for the business, but owner Sheikh Faizan Raza found the opposite was true. Young customers enjoyed having the chance to learn to sign. Unfortunately, the stand was quickly shut down by the government. Raza did not give up, though. After the food stand was shut down, Raza, along with his brother and sister, planned for 6 months. They rented a small space and reopened. With a bit of help from a BBC program, their business quickly became popular. Raza hopes his business will provide jobs and encouragement for deaf people. In Pakistan, deaf people are treated as sons of a lesser god. Workers at Abe Cow often recommend it to friends with similar hearing difficulties. Recently, Raza has turned the business into a franchise. Mr. Mobeen Kwazi, a player on the national deaf cricket team, operates an Abe Cow food cart. He's also hired 2 deaf boys to help out.